We love the myth of the Vikings, iron-hard families, sealed by oaths and blood, children swaddled in honor and stories of gods. But the reality has edges. In a world where betrayal meant the loss of land, luck, and face, even a child could carry a death sentence. Not always by sword, sometimes by silence, by exile, by the slow burn of shame. Tonight we open the door no saga lingers on. What happened to Viking children who betrayed their clan? Old Norse had a name for treachery, svíki, nid. Not just wrongdoing, but the unmaking of trust itself. In a kin group society, betrayal wasn't an event. It was an infection. Law, custom, and the sagas converged on one response: restore the balance. Through payment, through pain, through ritual exclusion. The mark could last longer than a lifetime. A child's name carried kin ties, inheritance, and luck. To stain that name by speaking to an enemy, by warning a rival, by breaking an oath, was to endanger the farm's fate. The Icelandic law code Sagas describes how outlawry erased a person's protection, full or lesser, stripping them from community like bark from a tree. And even when children weren't named outright, the logic holds. Protection came from kin. Withdraw kin, withdraw life. If you value documented history like this, raw and unfiltered, hit subscribe. And drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Picture a boy of 12 in the north wind, a lambskin cloak too big for his shoulders. He hears the plan, his uncle's ready to take the neighbor's driftwood rights at dawn. He slips out at dusk, sprints across frost. He warns the neighbor's daughter. When dawn breaks, the beach is empty. No driftwood, no surprise, only footprints and a story that grows legs. In a world where winter kills the unprepared, that lost timber is fire gone to ash. The uncles don't raise a blade at the boy. Not yet. They do worse. They speak no word to him at the meal. His trencher is placed near the door. His portion shrinks. He is there, and he is outside. Honor wasn't always a blow. Sometimes it was a famine-sized hush. In the sagas, the worst thing isn't death, it's nid, the weaponized shame that turns a person into a joke and then into nothing. The insult stakes were lethal. A carved nidstang, a pole that branded a man and his kin as dishonored, could provoke bloodshed. See Egil Saga Skalimsson. As scholars note, the saga world policed loyalty through ridicule, curses, and witness before the law. Children weren't prominent legal actors, but they were social mirrors of their kin. If a child undermined the clan answered by breaking the mirror.
Njal's saga shows how fate closes in by small betrayals, rash words, and broken fosters. Imagine a foster son, 10 winters old, who repeats a phrase he overheard in the loft, a half-joke: "We strike when the moon is new." The enemy listens. The ambush fails. A kinsman dies. What happens next is cold law. The elders call a thing at the river bend. The boy stands behind his foster father. He is not flogged, he is not tried, but his future is quietly edited. He will not inherit the good field. He will not be gifted a sword at 14. He will be sent west, a word that can mean opportunity or abandonment. This is how a Norse household cuts, not always with a blade, often with the knife of omission. Explicit laws about punishing children are sparse. Viking-age codes cared about outcomes, oaths, and compensation, and they assumed agency in adults. But the mechanisms that hurt children were legal and social: removal from fosterage, disinheritance, temporary exile, and exposure to hardship. Outlawry, full, skogganger, or lesser, made a person killable or untouchable, Sagas. A child could be collateral. If a household took the weight of betrayal, the child could be cut off from protection while not named in the sentence. Fosterage, a sacred bond between families, could be revoked, a kind of civil death for a youth who lived on borrowed status. Dubois, Nordic religions in the Viking Age. Archaeology gives us glimpses of social edges. In several Scandinavian sites, we find burials without goods, children laid without the tokens of kin investment. Not proof of betrayal, but a hint of marginalization, a life not fully woven. Price, children of ash and elm. So imagine a girl, small and sharp-eyed, who passes a message to a rival clan for a copper brooch. The theft she enables is minor: 3 sheep, a broken gate. But the loss of face is immense. In the longhouse, people start to cough when she enters. A cousin moves her sleeping place farther from the hearth. At Yule, when gifts are counted, her hands are empty. She lives, but the clan has decided she's a shadow of the line. Were children killed for betrayal? The sagas give us very few explicit cases. Violence against children appears. Think of the revenge cycles in Njal's Saga and the grim collateral of feuds. But targeted, punitive killing of a child by their own kin for betrayal is rare in the record, rarer still in law. What we see instead is the slow execution of belonging. A child can be made luckless. They can be sent to a marginal farm. They can be fostered out to people with little to give. They can be silently offered to risk. And sometimes, yes, people vanished on long winter roads. In a society where oaths were sworn by the gods, a broken promise was cosmic. The Eddas echo the belief that oath-breakers draw the contempt of both gods and men. In Havamal, wise speech and kept words are survival. Poetic Edda, Havamal. Children learned this early. Oath rings gleamed in the hall. The ring kiss bound men to tribe and truth. A child who loosened that knot marked their family as oath poor. So parents acted. They tightened the circle. They taught with scarcity. They taught with silence. It's the spring thing. The ice breaks on the river. A boy, 13, stands accused, not in law, but in rumor, of telling raiders which path the herd took. 2 cows are gone. A man is dead. The dead man's brother points a finger. His hand shakes. He wants blood. The law speaker raises his staff. No oath from a child binds the law. A pause, then a pivot. But the household shall answer. The father's jaw tightens. He steps forward with a compensation offer, silver, and a year of labor. It could end here. Then a voice from the crowd. The boy stays with me as thrall until the debt is paid. The air turns thin. The father must decide, silver or son, now or later. The boy looks at the ground. Back to the story. What happened next will chill you. Why would a father agree? Because mercy was math. Accept the child's servitude temporarily, call it fosterage in shame's clothing, and the feud ends. Refuse, and blood calls to blood. In Miller's reading of feud ethics, settlement is survival. Pride kills, payment cools. So the deal is struck. Not legal slavery, but something close. The boy is hosted by the bereaved house. He beds near the door. He works the coldest fields. Every dawn he hears the dead man's name. Every misstep is weighed. Every kindness is a ledger entry. This is punishment by living memory. Fosterage could knit families or pull them apart. In the sagas, noble fosterlinks create bonds almost like blood. Kings and chieftains exchange children to tame rivalry. But break that trust, and fosterage becomes a blade. It can be revoked publicly, which is humiliation. Or it can be bent into atonement, turning a betraying child into a living pledge. Dubois points out how religion and social practice interwove. Ritual meals, gift cycles, oath rings, all building thick cords of belonging. Snap one, and the whole rope sings.
In the fjord town, a 14-year-old girl maps her clan's boats for a lover from a rival farm. It's dumb love, wide-eyed, winter sick. The rivals strike at night, keels burn. No deaths, but a year's wealth becomes smoke on the water. At dawn, the elders speak. They don't beat her. They don't drag her to the law rock. They take her to the pier. They place her on a trading nar bound for the east, Burka, Staraya Ladoga, anywhere not here. They give her a chest with wool, bread, and a comb. They give her a new name on their tongues, None. To be sent away is to be erased. She watches the shoreline shrink, the last silhouettes of home like runes drowning into gray. Burial evidence across Scandinavia suggests children could be honored or not. Some graves are rich. Beads, knives, miniature tools. Some are bare, even in wealthy cemeteries. Archaeologists caution restraint. Poverty, disease, accident explain much, but when a child's grave is isolated or stripped within a family plot, it hints at different social value, not proof of betrayal, proof that some children died with less belonging. Mothers mattered. The Sagas show them as engines of honor, inciting vengeance or pressing peace. A child on the edge could be hauled back by a mother's will, by a grandmother's gifts, by a foster mother's steady shield of gossip and praise, or pushed over by their scorn. If a child betrayed the clan, women's voices could save or doom them. Words in the smoke, cutting as any sword. The Eddic poems honor the tongue as tool and trap. In Havamal, a wise mouth keeps one alive. Some feuds demanded blood. If a child's betrayal led to kinslaying, mercy thinned. The possibility exists, rare, terrible, that a child could be lost on a journey, claimed by river or snow. But more often the price was lingering. Reduced bride price or dowry, blocked inheritance, the lost privilege of a seat near the hearth, the shrunken chance to join a ship crew, a life lived in the cold shadow. That was the Viking way, not always the axe, often the account book. Punishment was a future rewritten. Our sources are not court transcripts. They are literature, law, and soil. The Sagas, Nál Saga, Egil Saga, encode social truths even as they tell embellished tales. The law codes like Gragas show the legal skeleton, outlawry, compensation, the sanctity of oaths, the power of kin. Archaeology and scholarship fill the gaps, how children were valued, how households flexed, how exile functioned in trade-rich worlds. With that, we return to the boy at the thing, the girl on the gnar, the whisperer in the field. They live differently. What happened to Viking children who betrayed their clan? Mostly they were unmade by inches. Not by blade, but by belonging withdrawn, by food withheld, by names unsaid, by futures cut thinner and thinner until the path ahead was a deer track into fog. It's a brutal mercy. It tells us that Vikings feared not just death, but dishonor, the kind that corrodes a farm, a ship crew, a lineage. And here's the echo. Modern families, teams, nations still punish betrayal this way, through exile that pretends to be choice, through silence that starves. We still weaponize belonging. If this unearthed Viking shadows for you, like and subscribe for the series. Next time we'll open another sealed door from the north, the rituals used to curse an enemy from miles away, and the grave posts that still whisper on windy hills.